First of all, just want to say well done. The characters are just fabulous. I can recognise some of the bits that Sanjay has put in, but I can recognise also all the work you've done and how you really know those characters and how they're really living. And it's great. You've got the backstory there. I mean, you've thought of everything. It's fantastic. So I really was enjoying it. It wasn't just lots of Indian names that I'm going, well, who are they and how do they, yeah, I could feel it. So well done, really well done. There was some things, Sanjay was putting a bit of heat on to show it all to this director tomorrow. I wasn't happy about that because at the very beginning when I first spoke to him about this project, I did say, what are your deadlines? Do you have, for example, festivals coming up in autumn that you want the film done for? No, he says, no. I would like to get it done at the end of lockdown. But it's great. So then we can relax, we can focus on the script because, to get that right gives, it means you've got more control over the story. If you hand it over too soon to non-yogis, you're going to lose that, I feel. So then suddenly he puts this deadline tomorrow. So I said to him, at this state, from what I've seen, and maybe I've not seen all the documents, Aparna, it's not ready to be shown to someone else. I'm absolutely convinced the story is all there, the characters are all there. It just needs more clarity in the structure of how it's presented on page, which is what we can talk about now. Because again, to send all those bits of arcs to someone, they're going to start thinking their own story quite quickly. So that's my view. But of course, he's a producer, and I feel, well, if he wanted to do that and he knows the guy, it's up to him. I advised against it. So he got back to me saying that's fine, even though he said to the guy tomorrow he's not going to do it. I said, well, good, because you're scuppering what is a great story and great characters, and they go into another movie. Absolutely, you could spend a lot of time with these characters, so I think it's so well done. So thankfully he agreed, he's listened to that. But of course he wants to go forward with it. But my view is, if you don't have a tight story, someone else is going to take over it. They're going to put their own imprint on it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're professional. I'm sure all professionals know about story and craft, but they don't have the Sahaj intent, and so Sanjay understands that, but he's just been a producer, I guess. So well done to you for working with him, shall we say. That couldn't have been easy. I was thinking, what a shame, poor Aparna. Some producers are very hands-on and some are not, and he was very hands-on. So and you handled it with great dignity, I thought. So well done. But the main thing to share with you, I don't know if I've got all the documents. I mean, I've got what you sent me, which is the story outline, from step 1 to step 20 odd.
Yeah.
So starting with that, because that's the clearest document I have. Other documents I've got is saying that it's character arcs. The only one that I've seen that was fully developed was Samira. So I've got a sense that clearly you can do it. Samira is very well drawn now, really, really interesting. Because all those questions were answered. And from what I knew of the character before reading what you'd done, I put in my own, what would I say was her outer and inner motivation? And it did match yours a lot of the time, but I added to it to give it more complexity and to give her more conflict. Because you want to throw everything at your characters that you can, and then we see how, what quality of character are they to overcome it or not. So these are just small things we don't need to talk about at the moment. But I think now, as he's going to be pushing to not let this director go, and to make sure he's got some to show him that is this a tight story that they can't do too much more with, other than interpret it as a script or interpret it as the visual. So go back to that document you sent me with the steps. What I felt it really needed was now the story structure. That wasn't coming over. It was a lot of, it kind of runs like this. But for anybody out with the writing team to see it, they have to get a sense of the act story, to understand that it is it is all going to tie up. So I think Sopan had a session with you on the act structure.
Sopan, yeah, he. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, Sopan did show us how to write a script, like how it's centered and how it's italicized and the dialogue is in the center.
Oh, like the format.
Yeah, he just showed us that, and then he said that too many people should not be involved because then there will be more confusion, because every mind is fertile, especially we being Sahaja Yogis, all our minds are quite fertile.
Absolutely. I mean,
I
there is the.
was
Mhm.
there's a just let me interrupt once. Why I was reminded of you, I was watching Netflix, The Outlander. Have you seen it? Outlander.
A bit of, yeah, yeah.
The way the characters have been shown and the story has been woven, it's so beautiful, from the director to the producer to even the makeup man. What precision. I'm
Mm.
amazed at the entire make of the season. Have you seen the entire 5 season, all the 5 seasons you've seen? But you know about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I know I've not had a chance to view it, but I've looked at all the episodes, the arcs, and I've studied the different series. Yeah, so you know, all the elements are there. Absolutely, you know.
Such beautiful. I mean, how do they do it? Is this
Well, this is
your the what you suggested? That is what I understood. Why you were so much into a character and all. Then I was relating why you are so particular about each character and the depth. That is how you can come up with something so beautiful as that. So beautifully narrated history. 200 years, the 17th century versus the 19th century, how they merged together. It's just awesome. I was really kudos to the director and producer. I was just wondering, when will we get someone like that who would, do justice to our stories.
mm.
My expectations really heightened with watching that, especially
Well,
with your coming also.
no, well, it's good that you've seen that and you have a good reference to a well-plotted story, and the characters weave in and out. The character who's a protagonist in their own story becomes the antagonist in someone else's story, but often unwittingly, just because they're on this path and that character's on that path, and they end up like this. So that is all done consciously, and it's all done quite scientifically. It's craft. It's like Michelangelo didn't just turn up with a paintbrush. Oh, what can I paint today? He had to plot and plan and graph and structure where it's all going to fit. And it's story craft. This is what it is. It's any art, you have to learn the principles of it. And so this is what we're now talking about. So starting with the characters, by asking those questions, it stimulates your unconscious from everything you know about being a human being. And that's what we've said before makes it universal, because all human beings have those types of emotions and ups and downs. So that's what's, you were right, you mentioned that to Sanjay last time. So that's the first point. That's why what I'd like to see, we'll go back to the overall story, but as we're talking about character, what we need to see next, if we're really going to control this story so that those guys can just go and interpret it visually, and really have it nailed down, is to have a character arc on each. The one that I saw of Samira is really good. I think you could tighten up, rather than going into her story, just answer the questions, because as you're writing it, more will come up. Let me just show you. Can I show you something on my screen? Is that possible? Or maybe if you
Yeah,
made me, if you
yeah,
made me co-host, maybe I could.
yeah. You can more. Okay, let me see. I'll put you to make host.
Or even just co-host. So
Yeah.
maybe I can share
Now
screen.
you can do it.
Okay. Let me
Share
share.
screen.
Right. You can see my desktop now.
I can.
No, can you?
Yes.
So you see my document saying Samira
Yeah.
character art. You see that?
I can see it.
Okay. So you've given this big paragraph. That's great because it's stream of consciousness when you're writing it. But what you could now go back and do is edit that, tidy it up. So, for example, in blue, I've written outer motivation. I came up with this before reading yours, so I was really pleased when I read yours. It was the same, I picked up on the same, you know, character type, to have material comforts without any effort or apply yourself to anything. But now I'm going to add to you inner motivation. Inner motivation for everybody is self-worth and love. Everybody.
Correct.
So they're all
Absolutely.
going about doing what they're doing to feel it, but they're going about it in different ways. So that's what's interesting. So she wants to, I feel from what the character you presented to me, she wants to have self-worth, security, love from others. She wants people, she wants it from the outside. And when the more I looked into this character that you presented through your other writing, I thought, aha, yeah, it's sibling rivalry. Because you said some things there. No, you said some things about she looks down on her other sister. You said you
Yeah,
should know better.
In Grelakshmi
Yeah,
1, it is made very
yeah,
evident they have sibling rivalry.
yeah. So that didn't come over so much here, but that could now carry on to say, she, you know, she wants, she doesn't know it yet, but she is jealous of the sister. And you
Yes.
know, and so that could be clear enough. So that's it. You just put it, and then when it came to what is she doing to get, so then you go back to the outer motivations to have all those material comforts. So stick with that. What's she doing to get all that? Then just make a list. So I could actually do should done some bullet points here. I mean, I've come up with some other ideas as well. I can see her in some sort of complex. She's in a new neighborhood, isn't she? And she's wanting
Yeah.
to, so that this now when we go back to, always go back to what does she want? What does she want? This is the cornerstone of everything of that character. Everything she does, everything she says is related to that. So it's quite scientific, really, quite practical. So you go back to that. So what is she doing to get it? Well, she's spending her husband's money. She's living the dream. She's not. I picked up on she wouldn't be meditating, um, uh, even when her sister asked her to come. Oh, always excuses. So now we know people like this. So you just draw upon this. I thought maybe there's a club for her neighbourhood or something that she wants to be in. Could be quite funny because she's clearly an outsider. She's shopping in the right shops, you know, with the big bags and all that.
Uh,
So I thought, even from the start, because we're saying these two sisters are protagonists, even in the opening sequence, we could just, you know, show don't tell, show them in their meditation practice. She goes over to the altar, does a quick windscreen wipe or tie up in bandana or a quick this and doesn't bother. And she sits down and goes, right, that's enough. Whereas the other sister is gently doing everything nice. So immediately, just with one scene without any dialogue, we're seeing the difference of them, a left side and a right side, really. And we're seeing their attitudes to spirituality. So just one scene at the beginning, maybe over the opening title, it would sum her up, would get her without even a lot. So that's just the whole thing of show don't tell. So then we go back, so what gets in her way? Again, you go back to, if this is her outer motivation, what would get, so go back to that, what would get in her way? Well, her husband finds out, the cousins overdo it. She got into the club, didn't she? And it all started to get out of control. They're not her type of people, really. They're quite too much the other way. She blacks out. Her dignity's gone. The camera crews come, and I know she doesn't get discovered that way, but the cousins are going, oh, I was with my auntie, and she's going, oh my God. Of course, people don't really know who they are. They're from London. So these little things you can keep bullet pointing in, and then I've thrown in, what's the result of all that? So everything that she wanted in her inner motivation, which is to self-worth, love, security, validation from others. So the result of all that, the cousins don't respect her. They think she's a drag. She's not as fun as they thought she was. The husband cuts her money or takes her away from the NGO. The friends who envied her don't now because they see her staggering back with her hair, and I love that kajal all over the place. And the neighbours laugh at her because she's the talk of the town for the wrong reason. So you see, there's what she ends up with is what she was trying to not have. She ends up getting what she didn't want. So it's suddenly really clear. So every scene with her in it is reflecting all that. So your one page on Samira would just answering these questions like that. So then when that now gets handed over to the guy who doesn't know anything about the story, oh, Sanjay, just let me see what you've got so far. Bang. Every character is absolutely plotted and well thought through, even on one page. And then we, end of story, what does she want now? Yeah, I mean, you could just, again, bullet point those. Bam, 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 because someone's going to be reading this and it gives them, it's a real shorthand for them. And within one page, just answering this, they'll get her immediately, and they won't need to change her. They won't start thinking up new things because you've already got her very well drawn. So that's the sort of thing. So it is all there. It is all in these big paragraphs. So I would just suggest it's quite a lot of reading all those paragraphs. But I understand as a writer, you just have to get it out, and already you're writing it, and you're seeing the movie in your head. But to someone who's now going to read it, that's quite a lot on everybody to do. And then you get a bit, oh, who's that? Who's that name? Who's she? You know. So this is the way you're absolutely in control of it. And we still see her as a full human being. And you can see the humour in it as well, but you can see the pathos in it. When she staggers back with the kajal and the hair, and the neighbours see her. Neighbours in the first scene, she was impressing and talking quite posh to them, you know. Then now you've got the opposite, the juxtaposition of that later on. So everything she was trying to stand for suddenly gets crushed. So it's absolutely deliberate plotting, planning, and that's how the Outlander do that. And they stick absolutely to the core. With the Outlander first series, she just wants to get back originally, doesn't she? Is what her first goal. And her second goal is she wants to stay alive. so Jamie, she has to marry Jamie to stay alive. Otherwise, she couldn't exist in that century. So, but her goal is for quite a few series, if I know from what I know, is to get back. You know, so that's always the goal, and then it can change, of course. But
one thing I would like to add here, see, Indians, because it will be released in India, see, Indians are not very open to Sahaja Yoga being handled frivolously. Although what you are saying is very convincing, and honestly speaking, the suggestions that you are making is what actually required to, you know, go worldwide with this story, because then people will start relating, and that's what we want. That is our ulterior motive. People should start relating and accept the fact that we have weaknesses, but we can get over the weaknesses with get a higher taste of higher things in life. For example, in Mahalakshmi itself, when we showed this concept of marriage, so there are people who have said that, look, what kind of a film is it? They have brought down Sahaja Yoga to the level of marriage, as if Sahaja Yoga is only about marriage. So imagine, they did not even understand marriage plays a very important role in society building, not just in India, but all over the world. What is a family? Family which happens after marriage is a family which is balanced. Children are taken care of. They have parental love, and children and parents have the love of the children, and that is how things grow, and it's a progressive society. So marriage is important, yet people are so anti-marriage with this live-in stuff happening and all this LBGTQQ and stuff happening. So, but we know, you know, everyone, but India, see, honestly speaking, Grey Lakshmi, obviously we want to launch in India first. Indians will not be able to take the fact that although we are showing the truth, but the hypocrisy that Indians have in them, they will absolutely form a very antagonistic. The fact that I have used this, you know, nightclub stuff, I don't know whether they will agree also or not to show it. Although Sanjay sir has quite liked it, Sanjay sir has said, yeah, I know actually such things happening. But, you know, I'm telling you, when others will listen to this, they will probably, you know, have a raised eyebrows and say, oh really, but Samira, we can't show her like that because she's already a Sahaja Yogi. Even if you remind them that there have been Sahaja Yogis who have dined and wined with Shri Mataji, have been thrown out of Sahaja Yoga, yet they not agree to the fact that you can show it so blatantly.
I think as a writer and as a storyteller, you've not to think about what people will think about it. You have to be really, really, really. This
point taken, yeah.
When you, because if you've got these people in your head when you're writing it, it's not going to come over as honest and true. As a writer, it's your story. It's your story about the life you're living and what you see. And
Yeah,
bloody
that
tell
is
it.
true.
Absolutely, absolutely. And don't think of these people. I don't even think Sanjay is like that. Sometimes I notice a couple of things he didn't want, but we'll talk to him about that. No, it's truth. And that's the whole point of storytelling, is to tell the truth, is to show this is
Yes,
how it is.
absolutely. I
If,
agree.
if someone doesn't like it, then fine. Don't pay the money and come. Don't come. You know, you can slag it off. It's not going to change it. We've created a film, and you know all the great films were challenging something. There were even Shakespeare. Shmati said was two things. William Blake was writing for divine. Shakespeare was writing for the people. All Shakespeare's stories, they sound today like they're all big and classical. Shakespeare was writing for the people to show them what is right and wrong. Mother was very clear about that. You can see that. Romeo and Juliet, it's not a big tragedy. It's stupid. It's showing the problems of attachment and class and family feud. And they were over attached, Romeo and Juliet, the romantic attachment. So Shakespeare was writing to be a mirror back to people, not in a horrible way, but you know, and that's what all good writing is. And as the writer, you've got to write what you see, and this is a story you want to tell. This is what you see, and if sad yogis think because she's got a realization she's a sad yogi, then this film will show them that that doesn't make a sad yogi. You still have
Yeah.
to work at it, and that's what's going to come out, isn't it? Why we're going to show both sides of that coin. We're going to show Sheetal, who, although she's doing everything so nice, she's still got problems, but it's how you overcome them. And that can be part of the theme, part of the message of the film as well. And that I've made little notes in other situations, just, oh, you can pull that out a bit more, explain that. Oh gosh, but for example, I think you did actually go on to explain it, but it was about the character who can't have a child. And yeah, there's a lovely chance to talk about the Ganesha quality. I I feel it's not. It's a right side problem. It's not. Even mother is absolutely clear. If a woman can't conceive, it's a right side problem. But that's a technical thing we'll have out with Sanjay. But even at that, I don't feel she should have the baby in this film. That's my own view, because it's a wee bit too trite ending. Oh look, she does sad yoga. Bing, she gets the prize. You know that doesn't happen in real life. But what can happen is that through that story, someone can explain to her, look, yes, it could be such. She says, oh, is it my past life that I'm being punished? That's a good question. People think like that. So then someone can explain to her, well, in Sahaj, it could be, but it's for you to clear it. Why don't you cool down your right side? And then you've got every chance of it. But ultimately, it's up to God. And then, of course, I've written down that as a sobering effect on someone. Wow, it's not up to what you do and what you don't do. It's up to God. And she'll either accept it or she won't. But then maybe you see her at the end of the third film. Finally, when she's given up hope and she's more relaxed about life, and she's fulfilling her life, and she's getting love in a different way. She's trying to get it through this idea of family. You know, then we see her by the end of the third film, when we've all forgotten about it. Oh my God, I've just got this big job coming up. I've got this I started this cosmetics company, and it's all, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Yeah, because you'd forgotten all about it from the second. That could be a lovely moment that illustrates the point. It's when you let go is when it can come to you. And even if you have to in Sahaj, that even if you let it go, you really have to let it go. You can't let it go just so you can get it. You really have to let it go. Then it's up to God whether you get it or not.
Yes.
So that could be explained. Her story illustrates that point. And if there's a daft side yogi doesn't get that, then fair enough, but you've showed it. And I think so. There's just a couple of little things like that. I feel you could, through these characters, now that they're so well written and so well drawn, these characters, just those little tweaks to explain that you may not, and have someone say, well, you may not have a child. Then have you thought about that? I mean, really, bottom line with her, she's like, what? You have to, otherwise you're going to suffer all this. I want, poor me. Think of a life where you don't have a child, because that could happen. We don't know what your your past life was. You're living your life at breakneck speed over right-sided, so you make some decisions. You may not. And I've had this conversation with Sahaja Yoga musicians. A lot of Sahaja Yoga musicians here in London want to be famous, big famous in music industry. And I've said to them, you shouldn't be doing your music for that reason. You know, and it's only when you decide, well, mother, it's up to you whether I become famous or not. Maybe I'm not to be famous because it's for my spiritual growth. Maybe that's going to be a bad thing for me if I was to get involved. You know, so this is the Sahaj knowledge, you know, the understanding of reality, isn't it? That it's, everything is up to God. And Indian people would understand that better than Westerners, to be honest. Indian people would understand that. But you've got the character, you've got her scenario, you've got her dilemma, and through that, make it real. Yes, Sahaja Yoga can give that. It gives you peace, but let go and leave it to God. Indian people will get that, definitely. And then she goes on to have a life. She manages to detach from that and not make it define her, that she doesn't have a child. 10 years they've been trying. And she changes her attitude through her meditation, and she starts having a really good life. And as I say, maybe by the end of, just as she's getting a really amazing life going for herself, guess what? I'm pregnant. Oh my God, didn't see that coming, you know? So she kind of gets blessed in a way. So that's kind of her life. Another story, she wouldn't get it. I know someone who didn't. I know a yogini in that situation, she didn't. And they went off and they adopted. They adopted a kid from some Caribbean island, you know? That was her choice. So you can show different sides to the same topic, and I think that's what's so good about this story, that it's not shown Sahaja Yoga in a silly way, you know. And you're the person to
Yeah,
write it,
true, true.
absolutely. You're a realist, and I know that's what you're passionate about, and this is your story. So put in what you feel is right, and really don't think about how will the audience perceive it. That these characters you've now got are really universal. They really are. So. There's a lot. What I did find interesting going through the characters is there's a lot of looking at what it is, what do they want, and even the sister of Arvind, she wants just to have a nice family. It's family. There's a lot of family stuff, isn't there? And even Arvind, he just wants to have a successful life and have a good family, but he's got this nipping away about, you know. I thought that's a sibling story as well, because she went away when he was young and he didn't know why. He thinks that she deserted him, so there's a bit of anger there. So when he turns up and she's back, that's not the end of the story. Oh, happy, happy. He's still angry at her because you left me when I was 7, and he didn't know why. No one's ever told him really the whole story. And so there's these little lovely little twists of conflict and depth of character that even they don't even have to be a whole scene where they discuss it. It could just be a look, and we know he's still angry with her, and he's a bit odd the way he's a bit, but he's happy, you know. And you can see that conflict. So it doesn't have to be a big dialogue thing. But if you've created that foundation, which you've done now or you're doing, you could do even a bit more to really get that tight. These things will be just a joy to write. And so when the guy does start putting it into act structures and put the dialogue in, it's already written, it's already there through this structuring. So what I think you could just have, and I'd love to see it, because what you give to him, I wouldn't want him to see what you've got now. There's so much there, and he might pick his own thing out of it, you know, just for his head to make sense of it all. So why don't you give him the sense, give them the structure? You don't have to be bullet points, but that's what I use. But you want it really just listed, you know, you want it really clear, so that you can just glance down, oh yeah, I know that character, and do it for each character. And don't complicate the sheet by putting in other people's story. Just them. What is it they want? What they look? Yeah, okay. The cousins turn up here, but you don't have to say, yeah, but she's this and she's that. They're just two cousins, two bad girls. What? I mean, you've obviously thought of this already, but what came over to me was the two cousins, Pinky and Pony. They're like the younger versions of Samara and Chital.
They are
Because yeah,
contemporaries, just 2 3
yeah.
years age difference.
Yeah, but I think, but a younger version, in the sense that in Mahalakshmi, I felt we didn't get to see what Samara and Sheetal were like before Sahaja Yoga. They had one row, they had one argument, but for me that wasn't enough to establish their relationship, because they had an argument in the bedroom, and that, for me, I wanted to see more of where that was coming from. But that's coming out now. And now that you've created these backstories, which I thought were fabulous, really good work. So if you could go back and do, and it's not even go back, it's go forward, just edit and have a sheet for each, particularly the main characters. Have fun and do it with the minor characters as well. It won't take you long. It will take you 15 minutes each person, I'm sure. It's just jot it all down so that it's going to be a quick shorthand for this guy to read. Now, getting back to the, so that's number one, is really get those, you've got them drawn, but just put them out on the page, really easy for us to see. And you see the story already, but you're already seeing the scenes, aren't you, there? Whatever club she wants to be part of, you know, I don't know in India what they might be, but there's going to be, there's got to be them, some sort of slightly higher echelon just because they've got money. That could be quite fun. And certainly showing the two different approaches of the sisters to meditation right at the beginning sets the whole story. And I haven't seen Sheetal's character sheet. I felt, and what I've seen though, and then in the whole storyline that you sent me, she's fallen back a bit. She's not as strongly drawn. Her story has slipped back. Samira's really come to the fore. And this is what I was saying, it happens, sometimes a character just takes over. And it's usually the bad character, the bad boy character, because they are so much more interesting than the good guy, you know? So, but I think in his story, as they are both protagonist and the sibling, need to beef up Sheetal's story equally, because they say in the story craft, if you've got a protagonist, in this case Samira's story, they have to have an antagonist that's equal to them, even though they're the polar opposite, which is what creates the plot and creates the conflict. They have to be equal. Not like sister, but they have to be equal in energy and equal in the different path to them. At the moment, Samira isn't. I think she's just become a bit passive. Her only conflict is her husband doesn't want to do Sahaja Yoga. I think it's a good thing. And that's why I suggested beefing her up a bit, that she's the total opposite of Samira. She's doing all the good stuff, but it's not working for her. The husband still isn't coming. And her ideology is that you get married in a Sahaj and the husband does it with you. It's all going to be wonderful. And she's got a big shock that, oh, that's not happening. So she's using her Sahaj and it's not working. So that's these two polar opposites. And you're right. You had written that she actually says to Samira, oh, you've not been meditating, or, you know, are you just faking it? I thought that was great. Keep that in. Okay, you might not say it. We talk about when a character speaks the truth like that, it can be sometimes on the nose, and maybe not to say it. You can show it. You know, she comes into her house. She just sees that the altar's not in a good way. It's dusty, and she just knows. We know. You know,
like when her husband is having to get them out of the prison, and when her husband is when she requests Arvind to help her get the cousins out, so from the custody of the police officers. So he is actually mocking at her. Oh, so your sister reached the discotheque for a meditation session? You have there also, you know? Sarcasm will be thrown at her because it shows that even she is, that's a showdown for her. Her own sister is indulging in things which she is such a Puritan, and look what your sister is doing. When your own sister is not like that, how do you expect me to become? That kind of she's your
absolutely. So I think that's great, because then that gives you, the writer or the story, I felt at that point in the story she isn't ready to explain what that is, because she's so taken aback and she's trying to be the good yogini. But at some point that gets explained. Look, maybe the senior yogi will say, look, just because someone's got the realization, they've got a long way to go.
You don't become perfect.
Yeah. It's up to you, but it's a choice. And then what I wrote in one of my notes was free will. Bring that in. Somebody can explain that. Maybe she doesn't know how to explain it to her husband. She has to get advice from Mugda or whoever. And they explain it to her. And she goes, oh, so what do I do then? Well, here's what you do. All right, you have to be a good Mahalakshmi. You've got to find ways to soothe him and please him. And then she goes about it in a different way now. So that's a turning point for her. But at some point, you use that story for someone to explain the issue of free will. Sometimes you fall back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Sometimes you don't. People will just go at it and work at it. And that was the phrase I wrote down. His mother always says, you need to work at it. Even mother says that, you know, you need to work at it if you want it. The goal is there. And it made me think, I don't know how you feel about throwing in a couple of the scriptures that people would know in India, like the Gita. The Gita is quite well known, or something from the Quran, just to say, you know, the goal in the Gita, Krishna said, the goal of spirituality is a target, and you need to be the arrow that goes there. But sometimes you fall short of that. And so that could be explained somewhere. Maybe Shital doesn't understand. She thought she was being such a good yogi and understood it all, giving realization to everybody. And then suddenly she has to go further and understand the subtleties. It's not that easy. And it
Yeah.
reminds me of, it's in the Katha Upanishad, which is about death and dying, but it talks about the razor's edge. To walk the path of spirituality is like walking the razor's edge. Even
Yeah.
Shamaji says, hold on to her sari, don't look to the left, don't look to the right, just hold it. Now these are this would all be brand new to people in the West, but I'd imagine that Indian audiences would get this, because this is in all the scriptures they brought up with, I think. But I don't know, it's up to you how you feel if you wanted to bring that in as another source of reference. It's not just somebody in the movie who's doing a movie about Sahaja Yoga saying it, that this is something that's embedded in the culture. It was just a thought anyway, because I think that would help give Shital a stronger storyline at the moment.
Yeah.
Samira gets totally rocked, doesn't she? You've thrown everything at her. So do it with Shital. You don't want to be nasty to her, but her obstacles and conflict are much more subtle, because she's doing everything nicely, being good girl, turning up. But things still happen to you, don't they? To teach you that
Yeah.
actually it's not about all the things you're doing. It's not about going to the centre every week. It's not about doing the nice altar every morning and doing the nice arting. It's not. These things help. So that could be put in, you know, and that would be doing a lot of yogis a good service, actually, because a lot of yogis don't understand that sometimes. But it is, you know, so, but that's great. You can tell this in a story form. So I think, yeah, if you can do these character, and because also in doing them, you get clear about these characters. It stimulates in you. But now you structure it so that you've really tightened it. And it's all around, what does she want? It's all back to that corner. So answer all the questions coming off that. What gets in her way? What does she have to do to get out of it? That's where the plot starts to happen. She makes one decision and another decision and another decision, and it's all taking her further away from that. So that's the principle. So getting back to the, so if you could do that for each of them, and I'm sure you can do it quite quickly. So getting back to the art, did I thought Chopin had went through the 3-act structure with you when he said he talked about script. Did you do the 3-act structure?
Okay, yeah, I can.
Yeah. So you don't have to really give a document to the guy with the acts written in the way I've done it, but I've written it here to show you. So this is, you've just got one all the way through. Now that's great. That's a good outline. That's a good outline, but I'm not getting it. It's in there, but I'm not getting a clear sense of the act breaks. And act breaks are plot points that turn the story in a different way. And it heightens the conflict as the story goes on. It's not just going on in the same gear, and then she does this, and she does that, and she does that. The stakes get heightened every time. So, but how they do that, you've asked about Highlander, how they do it is the writers sit down and work out what are these structure points of the story. And in every story, there's always a midpoint. That's where all the themes, characters up against the worst. They call it the kind of all is lost moment. The characters at their lowest ebb in the mid part of the story. And then they have to dig deep inside themselves to go further forward. And that's how they grow. Because by midpoint, they start off, I want, then they go about trying to get it, and of course it all goes wrong. All these obstacles come in their way. And by the midpoint of their story, they're at the lowest ebb. They've been beaten back. So that's the moment where they say, hang on a minute, no one's going to get me down. And they reach inside and they find that extra reserve to go, and I'm going to face the bully, you know, or I'm going to go and get the girl, you know, I'm going to go over the top and fight the enemy. That extra bit, if they're going to end up winning, And if not, they might have a few false starts and go, "Oh no, it's too much." So this is how these stories like Outlander do that. This is how they plan it. So again, you'd really need to, again, once you get the sense of this, you'll know what the act structure is for each character as well. It won't take you 2 minutes to do. So for example, to say like Samira, set up, it's basically in 3 acts. It's like 3 different gears, 3 different types of energy of the story. It's simple. And this goes way, way back to the ancient storytelling times in Greece and India. So the first one is just getting to know the character, finding out who they are, what is their dilemma, and what's the problem. And you want that set up quite quickly so that immediately you go, "Oh, that's like me. I wonder how she's going to get out of that." So set that up. And it's the world where we see her as she is now. She's out shopping. She's not. She's doing a quick meditation, and we see that. It could even be in the opening sequence that gets set up. A lot of Hollywood movies set all that up in the opening title, so they don't have to waste time in precious scene time, the 90 minutes, whatever. But set up her world. You could see her going ha 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 with her neighbours, speaking the way she doesn't normally speak. You get it immediately. So set up her world. Now, inciting incident I've written here, that's got other names. It's the moment where something changes. If we just follow her in that world, it's not going to be a very interesting story. So always something needs to happen. And the earlier that happens, the better. So her inciting incident is, "Oh, the 2 cousins are coming." Oh, great, my world's changed, I thought maybe with Samira, there could be a really underlying reason why she falls back. And I picked it up from your storytelling. And maybe you've already thought of this, but I picked up anyway from what you'd written, that when you'd said in one of the character descriptions, she says to the husband, Nital, is it? She says to him, "You go to London." Yes. But my first question was, why? I'm sure you know why, but I didn't know why at that point. But I thought, oh, she could have said that to him, but deep down she's quite resentful because she wanted the material life, to have the husband on her arm and going out to all the things. And now but he's gone off to be a businessman. So yeah, she's doing all this stuff, but she's bored. This is not what she wanted. And so when she falls by the wayside, she's just like that, just angry. So she's having this life, but it's quite empty really, because he's off in London following his dream. She doesn't have a dream because she's shallow. She's off spending all the money. So when the inciting incident is the incident that happened, it's going to change the energy of the story. And that is the 2 cousins arriving. Oh, right, I've now got a purpose. She didn't really have a purpose. The NGO really wasn't her thing, was it? So she's left on her own. So I think that's really, and you've given me all this. I'm not making this up or adding to it. I've seen all this in the character study that you've done. Maybe you have another reason for that, but that's what I thought maybe, and don't forget that everybody watching the movie will maybe have their own reference to that. Either way, it's the same story, but maybe later on you'll come up with a different reason. I don't know, but to me that seemed a possible. That he's off with his purposeful life, and she went yes, but she's not getting the life. She wants him there, going out and doing all the things she wanted. And so when she does fall back, it's just out of sheer, boredom, attention seeking, because she doesn't know how to have a meaningful
And
life.
she wants to show off also.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's number 1. But number 2, deep down, maybe she doesn't know it yet, is she's just bored. She's got no purpose living that type of life. But she's maybe not aware of that yet. That's the realization that comes at the end of her story. So that's her. So there's always, and it's the same with all the characters, particularly the main character. Like Shita will have that moment as well. Something will happen. Maybe the cousins arriving is her inciting incident, because they just arrive and it shakes up everything, doesn't it? It has a knock-on effect. The stories of these 2 girls turning up has a knock-on effect, because look, when they behave badly, it has an effect on Shital and Arvind, doesn't it? Look at your sister going out with them. So it has like ripple effects. So they're really good characters, because although they're just kind of much themselves, more or less, I mean, by the end of it, I'm not convinced that they're going to want to do meditation by the end of the end of the movie. But hey, you know, we'll talk about that. But they're great characters because they're catalyst to other characters' growth, and that's what the inciting incident should do. It sets something in motion, a new energy. So, and that's why it's good to be clear about that. So then you design everything around that. And that, again, how the Outlander works, you know, if she hadn't stepped through that and found out that that was her husband's ancestor, oh my God, it blows your mind. So this is all designed. So the two cousins are good. So they come, and there's another thing that rather than them coming, what makes a character interesting, and this is in a lot of stories, rather than just saying, hey, here's a new challenge for you in your everyday life, people go, oh, I think it'd be interesting to show that she's getting a call to action. She's getting a call to go out and show them. But there's a little bit of her going, should I be doing this? I know I shouldn't really. So she's what they call refusal to call. There's lots of different names. It's a point in the story where she hesitates. And it makes it more interesting because deep down she's going, should I really be doing this? Sod it. She takes action. She's active in her decisions then. But there's a little bit of, oh, should I? I'm not, no, you know, or maybe she might even be feigning it. Oh, I'm so busy, I've got my hair to do and my nails to do, or I've got so much to do at the NGO. Oh, auntie, please, oh, even all that. It gives it more interesting colour to the character, rather than just saying, hey, auntie, take us out to a club. Yeah, okay. It's too much, it's too quick, you know. You can
No,
have a moment where...
she is not an auntie, she is a sister, cousin
Well,
sister.
a cousin, yeah. Well, she's older, slightly older
Yeah,
cousin.
slightly older.
She's going
Three,
to
four
show
years
them.
older to her, yeah.
Yeah.
She's the eldest,
Or,
then is Sheetal, then the two cousins.
yeah, sorry, the
Like
cousins. But I get the
24,
feeling,
22, 20, 19, ponies,
yeah,
19.
yeah. But now that she's a married woman, she's kind of like an elder, isn't she? I'm seeing her as slightly, or she will look that way to them, won't she? She's married now, so she's kind of older in that sense, you know, mature, although not.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can do it. It depends how you want to. You can do it, but it's a good moment for there not to be just suddenly, hey, let's go out, and okay, and it's quite well. Give a little bit more depth where she either you can do it two ways. Either she goes, oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this. You know, I promised. Maybe there's a scene where a flashback. The husband says, "You be a good girl now," and she goes, "Yeah, sure." And she's remembering, oh God, she knows she shouldn't be doing it, but she goes. Or they just challenge her. What, London Light's amazing, and oh no way, and she's like, I'll show you. You know, there's different ways you can do it, but it's just a little moment where there's slightly more conflict. There is a hesitation before she rushes headlong into this new new drama. So that's a nice timing of that part of the story. And then there's a moment where she's gone into Act Two. Act Two is now where she's taken a decision and she's gone off into this new energy, this new part of the story. And we just say that stepping over the threshold. There's a moment where she goes, right, I'm going to do it. Or she picks up the phone to book the taxi, or, you know, there's a moment that she's taken action, not to have characters passive. There's a moment where she decides, right, this is the path I'm taking. So that is what we say. She then steps over the minute. Next thing we know, she's stepping out of the taxi and she's looking up at the nightclub and her eyes are shining. You know, she's now in the next part of the story. She's now moved into the second gear. Does that make sense? So that's Act Two. So Act Two is where all the story happens. And the way that can get structured is you're actually in Act Two, you're moving towards that all-important midpoint. The midpoint is where they end up at the lowest ebb. And that's where the story then, so it's like a graph. A graph, you know, where the story starts and she's got the choice, and she takes the choice, goes into Act Two, and the graph goes up. And then it all starts to go wrong, and then she's left. And then she has to, the other side of the story, she has to get it all resolved. So that's how all these stories work. So in Outlander, every episode will have that. Every season will have it. And I think they're in their 5th or 6th season now. From the beginning of season 1 to the end of season 6, that will have that structure. because it came from a novel or several novels. So these little mini structures are there throughout, and it's just really what tells the story. Every story, there's always this midpoint. So when she steps into this new challenge that these cousins have set her, she's there. We're now into the story, really. What's going to happen to her? How is she going to handle this? Because we now know what her goal is, but the husband thinks she's something else. She's in a mess. She's in trouble. But we stay around to find out how she's going to get out of it. So from Act 2 to the midpoint, and this is where you can actually start looking at your. I mean, what's the length of time? I think Sanjay was wanting to try and get to 90 minutes, not an hour, in this story.
Which one?
What's the length of time of the story? Because he's wanting to do a bit longer than an hour.
Yeah, not more than 2 hours.
Well, I think you should try and go for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So if this is 90 minutes, and the midpoint is 45 minutes. So not only that does that give you where the midpoint should fall, it gives you how many pages of script you need before that. If it's a minute, if a minute of scripted dialogue, 1 page is a minute, then literally you need 45 pages to get you to that midpoint where it all goes horribly wrong. And she's sitting there with the Kajal going, oh my God. Or in each person's story, you have to decide where is that midpoint, where is that point where they've reached the end, and they need to dig deeper to get themselves out of it and get themselves to the end of the story. So this is where it's really quite good if you're a practical person writing stories, because you can really start to plot and get this done. And this is what writers do. If a story's gone over 120 minutes and they've got a 300-page script, that's twice as much. So they have to get into 120 pages for a 2-hour, 1 page a minute average. So it gives you a guide of, or you have, that scene. They're saying scenes these days is 1-2 pages. Scenes are really short these days. And if you've got a scene that's 6 minutes, 6 pages, that's way too long. But of course, your first drafts, they're all long, of course, but this is what they're saying today. People's attention, scenes are really quick.
No, but
Anyway,
Sanjay sir also wants to, 2-3 minutes of mother's lecture, relevant lectures he wants to show.
Yeah, well, that's the type of story it is.
We will put in some songs also, 2-3 songs.
Yeah, when they go to the centre.
Go to the meditation, or maybe they are showing something and the music is running at the background, something they would want.
That could be quite a relief, a light relief as well. We don't want to go a breakneck. It's not a thriller. It's not one of these action thrillers. But in terms of telling a story, these days people don't have like scenes 5 or 6 minutes. It's a long time. So if you can get to the point of that scene quite quickly, it moves the story along. That's all. But that's back to script writing. You're not doing the script writing. You're just wanting to tighten up the story. But anybody who's used to writing scripts, which these guys should be, when they read your outline, they should get a sense of this structure, because it's increasing the stakes. She starts off in the world, she's got no stakes, she's just got to spend. The husband said, be a good girl and look after the NGO. Yeah, and he's a bit cheeky with her, come on, I know you. So she's feeling a bit guilty, but she's all sod it. I just buy two pair of shoes instead. So we're getting a sense of her. If that was just to go on like that, we go, great, we know what that's there for. But the real story happens in Act 2 when she decides to change her path. So if in your outline we get a feeling of that, they'll know, great, I don't have to do that. They won't want to impose it on the story, and they might put it in the wrong place. It's not going to tell the story you want to tell, So if you can do it, and I'm sure you can, because it is just understanding how these energies change. So in Act 2, you're heading to the midpoint. And then, of course, by the end of Act 2, that could be the moment where she's, with the police or something, and she's having to face, who's it? The other couple coming. So that's the big moment, isn't it? Because you get a feel for this, don't you? You've already got it in the story. It's just you deciding. What is the biggest moment after she's been through all that? She's finally found out, isn't it? So that's the big turning point. Oh my God, she's exposed. So that could be the end of Act 2. The end of that part of the story. So now you go into Act 3, and that is having to get herself out of it. The story, she's coming down now, and she's moving towards the end. Yeah, do you see what I mean? It's kind of like that, like a graph. The story goes, but that's how they plot it, by going the rising action up to the end of Act 1, and then, oh great, the story's underway now. Then she goes into the whole story, all the complications, all the obstacles. Midpoint, she's like, oh my God, what have I done? But then it gets worse, it gets worse, it gets worse. End of Act 2, it's the biggest thing. And then Act 3 is, I've got to untangle all this now. So now you know where you're heading. Don't get me wrong, the story is all there. It's just being aware of the timing and the plot points that you're heading to. And that will prevent, I feel, anybody else looking at your work and saying, oh, I know this, do that, make her do that, when you've already thought it through. So this is how you can tell that it has been nicely structured. And as I say, it's absolutely what Outlander does. That's how they do it. The next thing is weaving in together. Where do you put the scenes? But that maybe is for another chat. I know it's getting late where you are.
So this 3 acts, this will be character wise. The character protagonist Samira and Sheetal, they will have individual acts, 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes, and this is true, they're not everybody is going through the same energy. But, so for example, Shital, her inciting incident isn't so much the
First would be Sheetal, like husband having a very lukewarm attitude to Sahaj Yoga. That's
yeah.
a
So
Sahaj
yeah,
Yoga. Support
yes,
Sheetal.
hers is different. So she starts off the usual, oh, come to the centre with me tonight. Yeah, okay. And she's like that. So now it gives us more colour. Now we know that she's really wanting him to, did you get it? What did you feel? Are you feeling the cool breeze? And he's going, no.
Yeah.
So that's a moment for her that she suddenly go, oh my God, this is not turning out the way I imagined my lovely Saj life would be. So it's not a big thing. It's like the two cousins arriving. But something really important. It's been a shift in her world, hasn't it? Up until then, he's maybe said, "Oh, I'm busy" or whatever. But oh yeah, I'll
Then
come.
even the late night, when early morning 4 a.m. Navneet calls up Sheetal, she jumps off the bed and say, "What happened? Your Samira is not picking up the phone, and she has drawn 50,000 from the ATM 20 kilometers away from home. What is wrong?" That there's another shock, and
Yeah,
then Arvind listening to her, and then Arvind is the one who ushers her to the living room, showing that, look, your London cousins are celebrities now. That mockery will be there. Oh, look, your cousins are celebrities. See,
yeah. So that.
showing her down all the time.
Mhm.
That's a shocker for her,
Yeah,
because she's a
yeah.
good lady. She thinks that life is a hunky dory kind of stuff. But
So yeah, so what you would then, this is where you start to weave it. If you know what these storylines are and writing them, but without going way into the whole other person's story, it's keeping it to what is
okay,
disturbing her, what she wants, what is getting in the way. So for example, at the end of Act 2 for Samira, it's getting found out or having to walk home in shame, or whatever you think is the worst possible thing. Her story is being exposed, having to walk back through the neighbourhood or something, but for Ishital, the end of her Act 2 would come after that, because she's now heard the story and the husband's beaten up in her. The husband's been a bit so this is where you get the plot. This is how the scenes fall in line with each other now. So that's her, and so that's why they don't all really happen at the same time. Generally, by the end of Act 2 climax, the storyline is starting to converge. Everybody's storyline is starting to, although not at the same point, because she's done the thing that's rocked everybody. The next end of Act 2 climax is Shital, because she's now getting the result of that, and so on. And of course, we're heading towards the end. At the end of Act 3, everybody's at that big award ceremony, and it's all been resolved, isn't it? but we'll leave a few openers, a little teasers, you say. So it's like everybody going on a journey, and they're all coming at it from different roads, but they're all going to converge, and you know, because you've written it at that awards. But they're all going on this journey. They're going to get there at different points, but they all have 3-act structure to the story, all of them. I was watching something the other night. Well, I tell you what, do you know Vikram Seth, The Suitable Boy? They've serialised that on BBC, and it's the first time on BBC, because they have Sunday night dramas, and they're very famous for the Sunday night dramas on BBC. But it's the first time ever they've had an all Indian cast playing, and quite rightly so.
What is the name? What is the name?
Suitable Boy, A Suitable Boy by
Okay, Vikram Seth. Yeah.
Yeah. So this apparently it's the biggest book in English language ever, and they're serialising it. But anyway, and sadly they only did it in 6 episodes. I thought that was crazy. It's apparently such a big book. It's a story of 4 middle-class families in the period running up to the first elections after independence. So 4 families, all about marriage and love, and how are they going to do that in 6 1-hour? Anyway, they did. I mean, the chap that adapted it is a very well-known and successful English guy. But in that, there was a brother of one of the main characters, and we really only saw him 4 or 5 times. But even in the 4 times we saw him, there was a character arc there. He starts off being a ne'er-do-well. People think he's rubbish. He's always drunk. Next thing we know, he's going up for exams for the civil service, and he's got a girlfriend. And then by the end of the next time we see him, he's got the job. And I thought, well, he's quite a minor character, and he didn't really get involved in any of the main plots. He was just the brother who got in the way of the bigger brother, but he was a friend to the girl. That was it. He didn't play a major role, but he had a little character arc. At the beginning, he was just drunk and people didn't think much of him. Then by the end of it, he's become a bit of a man, and he told the brother to shut up. So you go, oh, okay, he's grown. We've only seen him about 4 or 5 times, you know, in the whole all the episodes. So each person has their own little. It might not be in such great detail like this character, but it's there. There's a growth that's happened, and it was quite satisfying when you see him at the end tell the older brother. The older brother was always bullying him, putting him down, and at the end he told him, "Shut up." You know, and you go, yeah. It's a little moment with this character who you quite liked and didn't really do much in the story. But so yeah, so without throwing too much on you, it's just go back, create those little character 1-sheet pages, and then think about this for now. And what I just also want you to think, just one last thing, that as we said that they're the protagonists, that's why I feel something like at the very beginning, setting up the 2 sisters are opposites in their approach to life and to spirituality. That was just my idea, that you just see them in their different approach to meditating. There's other ways you could do it. But then we need to see a scene at the end. And I think by the time I got to the end of the story, I wasn't so clear on the sisters' relationship. Yet they are really the protagonist and antagonist of each other's story. And they're the sibling rivalry, and they're so opposite. So at the midpoint, and this is where they can clash again, or at the end of Act 2, so they go a bit like that. They start off opposite, they might come closer, and then, you know, like, they keep touching base and having a clash. But so by the end, the denouement is when everybody said, he's handed over the check, he's got his award, Arvid said, I couldn't have done it without my sister, blah, blah, blah. Then at the end, we just see one scene where it all just quietens down, and we just get a little bit of extra, what's all this leading to now, where do we go from here? So it'd be nice if by the end, this final scene, we see the sisters. They've been through all the ups and downs of this story. They've clashed. She's coming at the end. Shitala has supported her, but that's cause, you know. But where are they at the end as 2 sisters in their relationship? Are they closer or further apart, or are they just they've they've understood each other, but they've still got a long way to go, in which case we'll find out more in the third movie. So
Making
where
room
are
for part 3.
we? Say again?
Making room for part 3.
Yes, yeah. So it's just showing the arc of the. So not only have you got individual arcs, but you've got the arc of the sister's story. So we start off. We need to establish them. This is a story about these two sisters and their different, struggles in life and their different paths. And then through the story, of course, they're connected, and one affects the other, doesn't it? Quite, and that's good because that forces you to grow. And then we'll see by the end of it, where does that story leave them as two sisters. We saw at the beginning they're here, both of them. I think we ended the first film where it was all fine, they were all meditating, Samara was going to meditate, and they were all, oh, sister, sister, and it starts off like that. Then we see the
last
yeah,
scene, Sanjay ji wants to keep that award ceremony, or where he will give away a check to Navneet and call Sheetal onto the stage. So maybe Samara will just look at her, being felicitated and being praised by her husband, and how her husband has finally given in to Sahaj and he has felt the miracle. So maybe you can show a expression of Samara looking at her and reluctantly, clapping and thinking, I could have also gone there, but my husband has lost his trust on me. Glance at Navneet. Yeah.
That's brilliant. It's so sad. Yeah, and you get those moments where you go, oh, and as you say, it could just be a look, and you get to that moment and you feel it, and it makes you tingly, and it makes you go, oh, because you've designed it so well, you've designed the characters so well, and the characters will be true to their type and their dharma. They will, So that's a lovely moment. That because you said right at the start, oh, she was always saying to the other sister, oh, why don't you dress modern, and putting her down. But now the sister is starting to shine, and she's going, oh my God, and she's happy because she loves her sister, but she's also, oh, I've got a long way to go. So that's a nice moment, isn't it? Just that moment, just a look. That's lovely. But that's good writing. That's because you know the characters well, And that's just that moment is lovely. That it's leaving it open for her growth if she chooses, or she might fall by the wayside again. We don't know. Or the husband needs to grow. It's quite good if you go back to look at the Vikram Seth, A Suitable Boy, because it's obviously set in India, but around the first elections. But it's the same story. It's about families. The mother's trying to find her a husband. She wants to be in love, not get a husband. Yeah, she's at college. It's all the stuff again, and the husband, her brother is married to this woman who's having an affair. It's just all human life, really, and it's done very well. It's written very well amidst the context of partition that's happened, the Hindu-Muslim, so there's a political setting there as well. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to maybe bring in that, so it's not just a family drama. Well, you are, because in Samira's husband, you've got that whole corporate story, haven't you? Oh, bless you. But anyway, we can talk about that. But that, I think if you can get this story really plotted down on paper the way I've said, if Sanjay does say, I have to do it, so he doesn't want, then at least you've got something. We'd rather not show it at the moment until you've got all that written down. The story's there, you know it, it's just putting it on the paper in a really clear way. So if Sanjay does say in the next few days, I need to show him something, then at least what you show the guy is really tight, and he can't start imagining his own story around it.
Okay, so it's 1:30. So when do you go to sleep?
I'm usually quite late when I've got projects on, but no, it's late for you. So, I've got to do something. I'm doing a workshop tomorrow. I've got to prepare that now. So.
Okay, I have recorded this also, so I will share it with Sanjay sir, and let's see. These three acts are very important for developing the story and for people to understand where we are heading.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put something together.
Yeah, and as I say, just try and restrain yourself not to go in and start writing the story, because
Yeah, correct.
yeah, just try and plot it down. It's like when you're if you if you ever do a painting, you don't go in and start doing all the detail. You get where, oh, that's going to go there. You just it's that's what we need. So, but listen, you go and get a rest. Go have your foot soak and get your rest. And I hope that's been helpful. But it's all there. It's really fun. It's really great story. There's a lot to work with these characters now. It's really interesting. And showing many different sides to it. You know, really good.
Okay, then let's call it a day.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for your time and patience. Hope that's
Thank you for your time and your so much of your participation. It's an honor. I mean,
oh.
of course. I mean, your experience, you are giving time. It's a big deal for us.
Well, you're doing very well applying the knowledge. So
Well,
that's
that's a very big compliment coming from someone like you.
no, really, you're doing very well. And it's just, I think it's just knowing this. These are all basic, you know, as you say that question, how do they do that, Outlander? Well, this is how they do it, and this is great fun to learn. Is the
Yeah.
structure, the craft. It's the craft of how do you pull together all these strands of story and make it compelling. But the characters are already compelling. It's just now weaving it in together, and this is how you do it. It's not the only way to do it, but it's a basic
Mm.
way to start
I know.
is
Of course, I understand what you're
organizing it. Yeah,
getting at. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yes.
So do you have to become? I think you have to become host again to be able to end the meeting.
Uh, yeah, it's okay.
Can you end a meeting from there?
You just say stop sharing, then we'll come back.
Oh, righty.
You
Yeah.
yeah.
Great. Okay,
Okay.
off you go. Get a rest.
Good night. Jai Shri
Okay.
Mataji.
Okay. Rest well. Bye bye.
Bye bye.